Welcome. So today you can see we're starting with a lot of props. Cork blocks, a strap, a blanket, a bolster. We'll be using a chair today. And the brilliance of these props is that they allow us to find our place in the pose. These are technically Iyengar yoga props. I'm not an Iyengar yoga teacher, but I do study only with Iyengar yoga teachers, and the beauty of these props is that they allow us to find our authentic place in a yoga pose. We all are individual, so even if you were to take two people of the same height, their forearms, their spines, their thighs would be all different. And so this really allows us to compensate for that individuality in the yoga world and find that great place in the pose. So let's get started, and let's start to set for our first yoga pose, Baddha Konasana. Now, if I were to come and sit in the pose, you can see that my knees are considerably higher than my hips. So what we like to do is create some support so that those knees are going to be in line with the pelvis. I'm going to take my blanket and just leave a little bit of a lip here, and then come and sit on my throne, taking my feet together into Baddha Konasana. And then there we go. We can see that the hip bone is in line with the knee. And then to work, we need this strap to keep the heels together. So we place the strap over the head, around the waist, around the outsides of the feet. And you can see I have a little bit of a lip here for the blanket to support my heels. And I am taking the strap underneath the hip line in the back, okay? So we take a look, and this looks pretty good. We feel a sense of those knees in line, or at least starting to incline on the way down. So we don't want to have the knees way up. So here we are in Baddha Konasana, and we have the appropriate height because the knees are in line with the hips. And initially, we want those sits bones slightly untucked. So the pelvis initially is untucking to create as much space here. And so if the pelvis were untucking, we would have those thighs rolling slightly in. But we want to also tuck the pelvis and create that sense of the thighs rolling out. So there's two actions. There's an internal rotation in the initial setup, and then we start to tuck the pelvis in and under, lengthening the inner thighs to the knees. And the strap keeps the heels together, and then we press through those outer feet. See if you can widen your collarbone and connect it with the back of the shoulder blade. So if for some reason your knees were considerably higher, meaning I was sitting, when I brought my feet together, my knees were way up here, I know that I need to sit higher. So let's take a look at a setup here where Jennifer is sitting on two blocks. Her knees are nicely aligned with her hips, and then we can add an extra support here by taking the bolster behind the lower back. That's it. Is this two? There we go. Oh, there we go. Good. Nice support. So what this does is this creates a concave lower back, where we're not rounding in that lower back, we're actually lifting the spinal column up into extension. Good, very nice. So we just want to linger here as long as your body will allow you to. This is one of those primary poses that really helps to open the hips. And the purpose is to get those knees to drop down, down, down. So the longer you linger, the better. Great. So we're going to lift the knees up And let's move our props off to the side. And we're going to step back and just bring the big toe knuckles together and drop your knees down. So it's a good practice to start to open the feet, just to take a few moments and open your feet. So we're stretching the backs of the toes. See if you can get your baby toe knuckles on the ground. And again, linger here for as long as possible. And then let's just untuck the toes. Just take a moment and just tap the tops of your feet. Good. Now, another primary hip opener is the squat. It's an incredibly important pose for the pelvis. And as you can see, I'm taking a blanket underneath my heels so that I can bring my feet hip width apart and take the weight into the heels. So if you are balancing on the balls of your feet, then you're bypassing the hip opener. The purpose is to take the weight back into the heels, and then we start to integrate the upper body with the lower half by widening the collarbone. See if you can squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Good. So if you feel that you can't linger here for very long, then you need more support underneath those heels. So give yourself a little love, a little tenderness, and let's sit back in those heels. Good. You must have been a cobbler in your past life, Linda. So we press through the heels. Widen the collarbone, connect that collarbone with the back of the shoulder blade so that the whole shoulder girdle moves with the shoulder blade, not separately. And then squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Pressing down through your heels, lifting through your chest. So as we inhale, we lift through the crease of the armpit chest, back ribs in and up, lifting through the sternum, the center body, so the spine comes into full extension. Good job. Right on. Okay, so let's move on. Let's take our blanket away from the heels, and we are going to come into Uttanasana, a forward fold. But let's take the blocks and use the blocks to do this folding forward. So first of all, we stack the hips above the knees. The feet, the outsides of your feet are parallel, and we want those thighs at the very top to roll in. So there's an internal rotation at the head of the femur bone. The front of the thigh draws straight back, and the sits bones draw forward. So we're stacking our joints, and then we fold forward. But to do this today, let's widen the collarbone. So widen your collarbone. Connect it with the back of that shoulder blade. Feel your inner shoulder blades squeeze together so that we facilitate this hinging, this folding from the hip and not the upper spine. So let's just slowly start to hinge from the hip, keeping those collarbones wide, squeezing the inner shoulder blades together. Kneecaps are lifting, the tops of the thighs are lifting, and we're pressing down through all four corners of the feet. Nicely done. Let's inhale and come up into the flat back. And I think it might be an idea to work with the wall here. So let's walk our blocks back, and we're going to start and take that right foot to the wall. So let's stack again, the hip above the knee above the ankle, and then let's draw that left crease back. So we're tucking that left sits bone in and under so the head of this femur bone doesn't stick out. So we lengthen the left side so that it's in line with the right. Both hips are facing square. And let's widen the collarbone. So draw that left collarbone to meet the shoulder blade. Let's press through that right foot. And let's reach the left arm forward. That's it. If that's not accessible to you, just focus on widening your collarbone, drawing that left hip back. So the second part of this pose is to open this right foot coming into Ardha Chandrasana. Don't lose that left sits bone tucking in and under. The thighs are rolling out and we lengthen down through the center of the lower back. So press through that right heel and then lift your right arm up if you want to come into the full pose. Otherwise, just take your right hand to the right hip, widening the collarbone, connecting it with the back of the shoulder blade, and then let's tuck the pelvis in and under. Reach the right arm up, and let's soar like an eagle. So inhale, back ribs into the body, lifting up, widen your collarbone, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Very nice. Let's release the right hand down. Let's take the right foot back to meet the left. And now let's do the second side. So if you find that this is not accessible, meaning these blocks are too low, then work with a chair. Just come up a level. So let's lift the left leg up this time. And let's take the right hand to the right hip and draw that right hip back so it's in line with the left hip. So both sides of the spine are equal. This right sits bone is tucking in and under. We widen that right collarbone to the shoulder blade. Inhale, lift the chest forward. And if you like, you can reach that right arm forward, pressing through the left heel, lift the belly, squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Let's take the right hand down. So widen your collarbone, and if you'd like to go to the second stage, let's open that left foot. And you can take your left hand to your hip or lift that left arm up, but focus on tucking your pelvis. The thighs roll out, and we lengthen down through the center of the buttocks. So this right side is nice and long. It's tucking in and under, widening your collarbone. Good. Let's take that left hand back down, and let's take that left foot back down to the floor. And let's bend the knees. And just take your hands around the back of your thighs. Squeeze your thighs as tight to the ribs as you can. Widen your collarbone. Squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. So we're integrating the upper and the lower half of the body. We're finding that sense of all things coming together as one. And then let's release the hands, and one more time, let's come into that forward fold. If you need your blocks, use your blocks. But focus on stacking those hips above the knees above the ankles. And then let's just fold forward here. So lift your kneecaps, lift the tops of your thighs. Bring the weight forward so the hips are stacking nicely above your knees and your knees are nicely stacked above your ankles. Very nice. Good job. So let's come up from Uttanasana, and we're going to work with the chair now. So let's walk over to the chair, and we're taking this chair about 2 or 3 inches from the wall, and we're placing a blanket over the top of the chair. If, for instance, you found that this is too high, you can use a lower height like a bolster. We're going to start with the left foot facing forward. So avoid turning the left foot out. Let's take the right foot on top of the chair. Again, if you find that the height is too high, then take it to a lower level. So let's start by taking the right foot onto the chair. And that's, if you'd like to use your ropes, you can use your ropes or not. The first focus again is to stack this left hip above the ankle. And then let's widen the collarbone. Again, connect the collarbone with the back of the shoulder blade. Squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Let's press out through the right heel. Lift the right kneecap. Continue that lifting through the upper thigh. Spread the toes wide. And let's take the right hand to the right hip. And again, drop that right hip down so it's in line with the left. Let's widen that right collarbone to the shoulder blade. Lift the left arm up. So press through the left foot. Take that left thigh back. Inner thighs together. Let's reach the right arm up and look up. Take your hands to the top of your head. Without lifting the hands off the head, let's lift the hands up. Lift your hands off the head without letting the hands leave the head. Good. One more time, let's reach the arms up and look up as we inhale. Exhale, looking forward. Let's take the left arm forward, right arm back. And again, let's inhale, back ribs in and up. Exhale as we look to the right. So each time you inhale and lift your chest, take that right hand just a little further back. Let's take the right hand to meet the left. Good. And let's release that right foot. And if you need a wall, take a wall. Otherwise, let's just bend the right knee and just catch that right foot. Squeeze your inner thighs together. So bring your knees together, inner thighs together, squeeze those thighs, and then tuck. Widen your collarbone to your shoulder blades. But the main action is to tuck this pelvis in and under. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Breathe deeply. Squeeze those inner thighs together. Very nice. Let's release. Let's take the right foot again to the top of the chair. This time let's turn sideways. And let's drop this right hip down again. So if this leg is too high, just take the leg a little lower. Feel free, if you needed, to use a lower level. Let's drop that right hip down. So Jen, turn to the side and use your right leg. How'd it go? So let me demonstrate. Let's take the right hip down and just bring your right hand to your inner right thigh. Roll that right shoulder back, roll that right thigh back, and lift the left arm up. Lift the left arm and tuck, tuck, tuck your pelvis. Good. And let's take that left hand over to the right. See if you can look underneath that left armpit. Widen your collarbone to your shoulder blades. See if you can squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Tuck your pelvis in and under, dropping that right hip down. Good. Nicely done. Let's slowly lift back up. And let's gently remove the leg. Thank God we only have two sides. Let's take the left foot onto the chair. So again, look that this right hip is nicely stacked above the ankle and the knee. Let's take the left hand to the left hip crease and draw that left hip down, tucking that left sits bone in and under. Let's widen the collarbone to the shoulder blades. Squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. So keep that left collarbone wide, and let's reach the right arm up. Press through that right standing leg. Lift that right arm as high as you can without letting that left hip lift. Good. Let's reach the left arm up and look up. So press through that right standing leg to lengthen the spine, deepening the spinal extension. Very nice. Take your hands to the top of your head. Without letting those hands leave the head, lift the hands up. So inner thighs back. Lift the elbows without letting the shoulders lift. So create that sense of lifting your hands up without letting your hands leave your head. Let's reach the arms up again, look up and lengthen. Exhale, let's take the right hand to the left leg and just reach your left arm back as you look forward. Widen your collarbone to the shoulder blade. And then again, let's look back so we can go even further. Good job. Widen your collarbone. And let's look a little further, twisting just a bit deeper. Very nice. Let's take the left hand back to meet the right. And let's step that left foot to the ground. And if you can catch your left foot without using the wall, please feel free. Otherwise, just take the wall. Let's bring the knees together. So knees come together, inner thighs squeeze together. Tuck your pelvis in and under. Widen your collarbone to your shoulder blade. Squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Good. Squeeze your inner thighs. Squeeze, squeeze those thighs. Nicely done. Let's release that left foot. And let's take that left foot now onto either the bolster or your original height, whatever suits. Let's drop that left hip down. So this left arm rolls that left thigh out, and this left shoulder draws down the back. We try and stay sideways as we reach the right arm up. Tuck your pelvis. So scoop that pelvis in and under, squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. And let's take that right hand over to the left, looking underneath the right armpit. Use your breath to create that space in the body from the inside out. Let your breath come all the way into the lower belly area. And then let's slowly come back up. Nicely done. And let's release. Good. So returning back to our mat, let's take our bolster and bring it to the wall. So right to the wall. So let's come and sit on the end of our bolster and just extend your legs long into Dandasana. Let's flex the feet, widen your collarbone, lift and lengthen through the center. The back ribs in and up, lift through the side body. Flex your feet, so reach through your heels, spread your toes wide. And let's take the left leg out to the side and bend your right knee. So press through your right foot and lift and lengthen your spine, widen your collarbone, squeeze your shoulder blades together. And let's take the right hand to the bolster. Let's reach the left arm up and take that left hand, arm, bent or not, to the outer right thigh. That's inhale, back ribs in and up, widen your collarbone. That's exhale as we gaze to the right. So as we lift up and gaze to the right, the body, the sternum starts to follow the gaze. See if you can widen your shoulder blades, squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Breathe to create space inside the body. Let's look forward, bringing your right hand forward. Let's just change sides. So take your left arm to the bolster, and let's take the right arm to the inner right thigh. Inhale, back ribs in and up, widen your collarbone as you gaze to the left. Drop your shoulders down by squeezing your inner shoulder blades together, and then using the breath to lift the upper thoracic spine. Breathe, ladies, full body breaths. Very nice. Let's look forward and slowly release. Nicely done. So let's straighten the right leg out to the side, and let's bend the left leg. Good. Let's take the right hand to the outer right thigh, and let's take the left arm back. You can start by reaching that right arm up to get that length in the spine, to find that spinal extension. So the lower back is concave. There's a little incline inwards. And then we take that right arm, bend towards straight. Focus on widening your collarbone so you can start to connect the upper body with the lower half of the body. Good. Deep breaths, just allow that breath to create that space for you. So at this point, we start to let the mind fall away. No opinions, no thoughts, no limitations. Just allow the breath to perform its magic. Let's take the left hand back to meet the right. And let's just straighten the leg and just move a little from side to side, just to release anything that catches. Good. And then let's bend the knees and come over to this side. So just take that left foot on top, and let's reach the arms up, just another deep twist. Lift and lengthen, that's it. And let's take the left hand to the right thigh, and you can either take your right hand to the wall or the bolster, whichever works for you. Let's inhale, feel the side armpit chest lift, back ribs in and up, lifting through the center of the chest. So all 3 points of contact, the side body, the back, and the front. Widening your collarbone, squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Let the gaze lead the effort here. The body will follow. Good. Dropping that left hip down. Very nice. Let's slowly release. And let's come forward and just change sides. So just take your feet to the other side. And let's lift the arms up, lift and lengthen. Good. Lift and lengthen. And let's take that left arm either to the bolster or the wall, right hand to the outer left thigh. Let's widen the collarbone to the shoulder blade. Back ribs in and up, lift through your center chest. And as you exhale, gaze to the left. Good. Let the breath do its duty. Let the breath travel freely through the body. As you inhale, visualize new life, new energy coming to the body through that breath. And as you exhale, start to feel that sense of letting go, squeezing that tension out of the body. Good. Let's take the left hand back to meet the right. Very nice. And let's come forward now. And just move your bolster off to the side. And let's take a table position. So stack your shoulders above your wrists, spread your hands as wide as you can, and your knees are hip-width apart, your hips are stacked on top of those knees. So let's set our pose for downward dog. Let's widen those shoulders and take them down the back. So just do this a few times. Widen those shoulders and draw them down the back. Belly lifts, sternum forward, and the pelvis is untucked. As we tuck the toes in and under, let's lift the hips and lift your kneecaps up. So that's the first order of the day. Let's let those legs start to work a little harder. So the more you find your legs, the longer this pose will last. So let's lift the kneecaps up, up, up. Continue that action of lifting right up through the tops of the thighs. Maybe even work to lift your toes, press through the balls of the feet as you take your heels down. And let's tuck the pelvis in and under. The upper body, the crease of the inner elbows are rolling up, and the shoulders are drawing all the way down the back. So the armpit is open, but the top of the skin of the shoulder is drawing down the back. Very nice. Let's come forward. Let's bring the knees to the floor. And let's bend the elbows. And just bring your chin and chest to the floor. And then let's release the hips down. And let's take our forehead to the floor, hands to the hips. And the first work here is to start to press through the tops of the feet and lift the kneecaps. So a lot of the belly poses, the legs are not nearly enough active. See if you can lift those kneecaps, lift the tops of the thighs, press through the tops of the feet. Look for your baby toes. Look for your big toes, pressing and activating those feet. Outer buttocks, cheeks draw in. So the pelvis starts to contain all the way from the top of the hip, down the outer thigh, down the outer shin. Forehead to the floor. Let's take the hands now down. So let's face those palms down. Let's widen the collarbone to the shoulder blade. So this looks like it's easy, but we're squeezing the inner shoulder blades together. We're lifting the kneecaps. And let's lift that left leg. And now lengthen that left leg from behind this left pelvic girdle, behind this left buttocks. Lengthening the leg all the way out through the toes. The height is not as important. We want to keep that left leg straight. Feel the muscles of the upper and lower thighs start to grip and wrap tightly around the thigh bones. Let your breath lead the effort. So feel the breath come all the way into the lower belly area. Good. So press through the top of the right foot, right kneecap lifts, left leg lengthens. Let's take the left foot down And let's lift the right leg. So again, we point those right toes. See if you can lengthen your right leg from behind your right buttocks. Feel the entire thigh tighten around the leg bone. Feel that leg work. The left leg is also working. Pressing through the top of that left foot, the kneecap lifts, the top of the left thigh lifts. We press through the palms, widen your collarbone to the shoulder blades. Very nice. Let's bring the right foot down. So press through the tops of those feet. Lift those kneecaps. Squeeze your inner thighs together and let's lift the legs as one unit. Good. Widen your collarbone to the shoulder blades. See if you can lift your head, looking straight down. Very nice. Widen your collarbone, squeeze your inner shoulder blades together. Look straight down. And then let's lift the arms. Widen your collarbone, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Lengthen those legs. Spread those toes. Shalabhasana. Very nice. Let's take the feet to the floor. Continue that action of pressing through the tops of the feet. Kneecaps lift. Let's take the hands underneath the shoulders. Elbows in, shoulders wide to the collarbone. Let's press through the palms as we lift up. Good. So this is back work. And to test that you're working your back, see if you can lift your hands. See if you can press a little higher, widen your collarbone, lift your hands. Good. Let's bring those elbows forward underneath the shoulders. So again, we continue to press through the tops of the feet, lift those kneecaps up. Let's widen the collarbone, draw the back of the forearm straight back, squeeze your inner shoulder blades together, and let's pull the body forward as we press through the tops of the feet. Good. Very nice. So widen your collarbone, squeeze your inner shoulder blades together, and let's press through the tops of the feet. Lift those kneecaps. Good job. All right. Let's take the hands to the lower ribs. Squeeze your elbows in and back, pressing through the tops of the feet. Let's gently press up. Good. And let's take a moment in the child's pose, just using a bolster, just a moment or two to release your lower back. So we bring the bolster on the highest level, in between the thighs, and then just bring your right cheek to the bolster. So the whole torso is supported by the bolster. If you're hanging in midair and there's no support, then you need to take something a little higher. Maybe you need something underneath your buttocks, but you're looking for support. Just enough time so that you can take your breath up into those cervical vertebrae in the back of the neck. And then follow through your exhale to feel that release coming through the spine. And let's lift the head and just bring your left cheek to the bolster. And again, let the breath lead the way. The breath will create that release. The mind does not need to participate. We just surrender here. We take a moment in this place of support and surrender. Namaha. So feel free to linger here as long as it takes for your lower back and upper thoracic spine to completely let go and release. And then let's slowly come up. And we're going to do an easy supported back bend, just to start to explore what the legs need to do in this pose. So back bends are very much about engaging the legs. So I've set my cork blocks, the highest level at the top and the second level for the second cork block. And let's just come and lay over your blocks or your bolster, doesn't matter. And let's have the blocks roughly touch the lower ribs. Good. Let's take the feet hip width apart and pressing through your feet. Let's lift the hips. See if you can find all four corners of your feet. And let's take the sits bones towards the shins. See, initially we're lengthening both the sits bones towards the shins. Eventually those sits bones start to work towards the knees. And let's press through the feet. Press the feet down into the floor. So we start to feel the work in the legs. And then we join the outer hip area to contain the hips and pelvis. So everything is working together here. Let's press through those feet. So press those feet down. Feel the outer buttocks, cheeks, the outer thighs drawing in. Feel the back, top, upper thighs engage here. So those back, upper thighs lift up, lift up, lift up. Pressing through all four corners of your feet. So this is an initial back bend where we start to explore how we use the legs in the pose. And the upper body right now is really not doing too much. We're just working the lower half. Let's slowly release. Good. And let's come over to the right and just remove your blocks. And let's just take a moment for our inversion, and let's take our bolster and just place it about 4 inches from the wall. Let's take our blanket and just place that blanket with the edges in. And let's come and sit sideways on our mat, on our bolster. So sit sideways on your bolster. And let's take the buttocks, cheeks to the wall. So both the right and the left buttocks, cheek come to the wall. The shoulders come down first. Legs come up last. And then we can either have our arms in the cactus or just out to the sides. The sits bones are dropping slightly behind. So they're rolling down the back of the bolster, and we reach through the heels. This pose is one of those brilliant poses that recharges the batteries of the central nervous system. All of the fluids in the body are reversed. So this is one of the few poses where the head is lower than the heart. And they are finding that inversions reduce plaque and glutamine in the brain on an MRI. This is where disease begins. For whatever reasons, inversions seem to reduce this disease. So spending time to recharge the batteries of the central nervous system. We're in a supported back bend with the legs up, and again, as I mentioned, the head is lower than the heart. This is a risk-free inversion because there's no weight on the back of the neck. So feel free to linger here as long as you like. And then let's bend the legs, and we're going to come out of this pose and just come into our final rest now, Shavasana. So let's just come forward. If you would like to bring your bolster underneath the backs of your legs, this will provide a little bit of support for the lower back. So we would take the buttocks right up to the bolster. And then just take your head on top of the blanket. That's tuck the shoulder blades in and under. And just let yourself completely surrender here, just in this place of quiet observation. The corpse pose. So Shavasana is one of those poses that all the different yoga systems agree with. They feel that it's an excellent pose, regardless of what discipline, what yoga you practice. Namaste.